See none. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a town administrator report, Peter? All right, no town administrator public comment. Mr. Don Clark, T-Rock Gardens.
Don Clark, T-Rock Gardens. I'm mostly here to speak to Mr. Darcy. I don't know whether this is your last meeting or not, but I want to thank you for your service to the town. I think, especially in the last year, you've helped to keep the train on the tracks here. And I'm not just speaking for myself here, but I'm speaking for a lot of residents of the Marshfield Housing Authority. A couple of years ago, when Joe Pesovich was brought in front of the board, he was found guilty of misconduct in office, and you voted to remove him. And that means a lot to a lot of us at T-Rock Gardens, and we really appreciate that. And yes, it is the same Joe Pesovich that's running for select board. That's a scary thought. And Mr. Kelly, I just wanted to say that comment you made about bottom feeders, I don't care if it was to one person or 100. That's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Don Gibson, Union Street.
Don't start my time yet, I just got here. All right, I would like to speak with respect to action items number 16 and 13. Number 16 involves Mr. James Kreider, whom you are apparently going to consider and vote upon as temporary town administrator. How did this become part of tonight's agenda? Who placed this item on the agenda? Is Mr. Kreider one of the candidates recommended or going to be considered by the town administrator pre-screening search committee for the position of town administrator? Has he been interviewed by that committee? Are you aware that special town meeting members of the town of Winchendon in April of 2015 overwhelmingly voted to buy out Mr. Kreider's contract by a vote of 294 to 93 and to pay him the sum of $300,000 so he would no longer continue to serve in that capacity as town manager because they were so dissatisfied with his performance? Are you aware that the tensions between Mr. Kreider and the Winchendon Select Board prior to that special town meeting had risen to the point, especially between Mr. Kreider and Board Chairman Burton Gould, such that the Board Chairman had attempted to order him out of the building when a particular Select Board meeting was being conducted? Have you or anyone else bothered to speak with current or former Winchendon town officials about Mr. Kreider and his performance as town manager? Have you read the July 2015 financial management review of the town of Winchendon performed by the Division of Local Services of the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, where the DOR criticized Mr. Kreider for a lack of budget monitoring, and also having little involvement with the budget once adopted by that town meeting, that he did not have access to the town's financial management software application, and that he delegated the review of monthly revenue expenditures to the town accountant? What gives you the confidence that Mr. Kreider could steer the town of Marshfield in these dire financial times in the right financial direction? Finally, with respect to agenda item number 13, can you please tell us about the amount of turnover within the office of the Select Board and how many employees or staff members within that office have either resigned, retired, or asked to be considered for another position in town government since the present chairman was elected to the Select Board? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Christine McCarthy, Forge Lane.
Hello, Christine McCarthy, 130 Forge Lane. I am a member of the Town Administrator Select Committee, and I'm going to defer to our chairman to make a few comments. Thank you.
You want me now or when I'm signed in?
I'm missing this whole thing here.
Christine is deferring to me, representing the selection committee for item number 16.
Are you on the public comment?
Yes, I am on as number 6.
Joe Rigg?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I am here to express concern and confusion on the behalf of the pre-screening committee to select candidates for the new town administrator. We're concerned about item number 16. We were charged with identifying candidates and bringing candidates forward to the town for a new select person, a new town administrator to the select staff. And we're confused. What is our role now? What are we supposed to do? Simply it.
Thank you, Mr. Rigg.
Thank you.
Pam Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge?
Pam Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge. I just want to say that I don't normally get real ugly at meetings, but we've had some ugly comments already here tonight and in the past, using words like "you're disgusting" or "you've done something disgusting." I want to say that I've been paying attention for 20 years, and the reason why you still see me today is because what has been done to the people in this town from time to time to time, it seems like something comes up every 6 months or every year, by people who are in this room still tonight and people from the past who portray themselves as angelic, wonderful, professional people. What they have been doing over the years is misleading people, straight out lying to people, engaging in things like procurement problems, either attempting them, and we've managed to shut them down. We have been able to fix things, people from the outside like me, from time to time to time. And so I'd like to say that you are not one of those people who's engaged in that, but there are other people who are blaming you for things. They are so much worse than anything you've ever thought of doing. So I'd like to get that point across. Also, you have an agenda item, I'm not sure which number it is, but it is about a discussion on the warrant, the budgets, 3B and 3C, and I would hope that, I'd like to comment on that, so I hope that you open the floor maybe up to either everyone or at least myself, because I have plenty to say about that, and there's a lot of wrongdoing going on right now concerning our warrant. The residents of this town are not being told the truth. Things that have gone on in this room for months has been very misleading or not the truth. And even the town employees are being misled and not told the truth right now. And the people who are blaming you for some type of wrongdoing are so much more wrong. So thank you.
I appreciate it, Pam. Thank you. Joe Pasevich?
Thank you, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. I echo the sentiments of the previous speaker, and it is true that when things began to change, when the complexion of these chambers began to change a little bit, there was a vitriolic and severe reaction, and that's what we're seeing. That's the reason for all this chaos that we're experiencing right now. To Mr. Darcy, who's probably made more personal insults, at least to me, than anybody has ever made in my life, goodbye. With regards to a couple of comments I just heard, previous speaker said that I was basically a bad person found guilty of misconduct. Well, if anybody cares to look into it, the official letter issued by the Select Board following my impeachment was that I had somehow maligned people by something I said on my podcast talk show. And if you look at what they accused me of saying and what is actually on tape, two different things. No matter how many times town council insisted this is what he heard, it is provable, it is documented that it was not what was being portrayed. Complete fabrication and a reaction to my active role in trying to get my board, the Housing Authority, on track. as far as the town administrator search issue goes, yeah, what is taking so long? I think it sounds to me like you're fully within your rights, Mr. Chair,
15 seconds.
to entertain a temporary administrator, but at the same time, I think Norwell just hired or is going to hire a new ETA in 6 days, and Cohasset had 28 applicants. So what's going on here? As I predicted,
All right, Joe.
I know what's
2 minutes.
happening.
Thank you.
Watch to see who gets appointed or recommended.
All right. That takes care of that. All right, I'm going to move on to discussion vote on lease agreement, Clay Pit Road, landfill. Steve, are you good to go with this? Do you
Yes.
have any questions on it or anything?
No, thank you.
I did go through lease agreement. I do have a couple of questions and then I have a concern that I want to bring up. Page 3, letter E. Bob, in regards to the, I guess you want to call it the abandonment notice, is there a sum of money that's going to be put down in case this happens in the future that's going to protect the town from not having to pay for it?
Mr. Chairman, Elise Soley is online. She drafted this. Do you want to ask her the question?
Sure, if she's available.
She's special counsel for the town.
Elise, can you hear us?
I think she's.
Yes, I can hear you.
On-
Can you hear me?
I can, thank you. On page 3, letter E, I will call it that paragraph, the abandonment notice, is it the leasee, would they be putting down a sum of money in case something in the distant future happens where it is abandoned and the town doesn't have to pick up the cost of cleaning up the site?
Yes, so I want to talk about the 3 different scenarios. All are important answers to your question. Thank you for the question. So first and foremost, under the lease, there's a payment made to the town of $1 million a year. And right to the town, if the activities at the site are not being conducted appropriately, for the town to step in and control the facility. So my view is that you have strong controls throughout the lease term with respect to the property. At the end of the lease term, you have the right, but not the obligation, to be able to take over the equipment at no cost to the town and continue to operate it. At that point in time, you would not only be getting the value of the electrons, you'd be getting them at no cost to the town. And then the third is, if, for instance, they were to leave it and not conduct the remediation, you will have 2 rights. 1, to go after them legally and force their coming back and doing the restoration or the remediation. And 2 is to remove the facility yourself and send them the bill. Them being Next Grid, there is no circumstance in which they have to have a financial assurance at this time, but it's certainly possible that we could set aside some funds with respect to each of the payments or in future, because there are additional properties to be considered, to be able to start to develop an account where they pay forward into it.
So if they file bankruptcy, then we would have no recourse, right?
Well, if you file bankruptcy, you have a leasehold right to participate in the bankruptcy, and you would request to have you'd have any litigation right like any bankruptcy. The facility is built under a single purpose vehicle. It has a contract for the offtake, and It's a passive facility that they have the financing for. So it's theoretically possible that it goes bankrupt, but it's non-penetrative into the landfill. They don't get to store hazardous materials. So that facility has value. It even has value 20 years from now. Or 35, and I would expect that you would want that facility. I don't think that it ordinarily is not a concern of the communities what happens if the facility remains. It's ordinarily a concern of the facilities. What rights do we have to the facility when when the lease is done? And we expressly negotiated that for you.
Yeah, I mean, when I was going through this, when I had the chance over the weekend, it was something that I kind of picked up on. I had questions on, because my look at it is that the equipment that they'll be used, I imagine only has especially solar panels, I imagine only has a lifespan of so long before it's no good or has to be changed out. So my concern is that when that potential lifespan ends, and if they don't think it's cost effective, what happens if they walk away or they file bankruptcy before that happens, and then we're left holding the bag with this equipment, and we're going to have to potentially pay for its removal.
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on, at least Bob wants to say.
Andrew Stewart is going to get the actual permit that they obtained from the ZBA because there may be a removal bond requirement in the permit. So he's going to get that permit and answer that question.
All right, so should we just wait for Andrew to get
On
back?
There is definitely going to be a removal bond in their permit, but that removal bond will not be payable to you, Bob.
Right. So what does that mean, Bob?
Well, we would have a right to make a demand on the removal bond, and the company that posts the money would have the obligation either to do it themselves or pay a company to do it. That's how a removal bond would work.
All right, so we just got to wait for Andrew to get back.
Yeah, he's going to look now. I didn't want to say one way or the other because I don't remember that specifically, but he's going to check.
Oh, Andrew's back right now. And while they're looking through that, Elise, on the extension options, it says the leasing has the option to extend the lease for 3 additional
Mr. Chairman?
5-year periods, beginning on the day following the expiration of then current term, by giving notice to lesser, not less than 90 days prior to the expiration date, and without the requirement of any further action on part of either lessor or leasee. Lease to any affiliate of leasee. Leasee agrees not to involve a broker, savings, the lesser of any transaction fees. So, in reading that, do they have the right to tell the town that they want to extend it, or is that going to be an option of the town if they want to extend it to the leasee, I guess is what it is, or lessor?
Yes, so the next grid has the right to extend, but in every year of the extension, they have to pay an escalation fee on the rent. So your rent increases in each year of the 15 cumulative years.
So essentially, if we're signing off saying that they have the right to extend, but even though you're saying that there'll be an escalation fee, could we be harming ourselves that when their contract's up, we could get a better offer for somebody else in doing this?
No, you wouldn't get a better offer because the next person would have to go through, there would have to be a removal, and then the next person would have to go through the process of getting all of the authorizations and permits. And there would be a time delay, whereas you're getting continuous funding escalated each year of the $1 million with a polite reminder that when we looked at the public sources of information with respect to the rent for landfill-based solar facilities, that the rent was remarkably robust and effective for this facility and for its size. So you have a very good rent that you get for the next 20 years. The rent gets escalated so that it escalates with inflation, we would hope, in the later years. And since the value is very good now and the rent escalates, and you would have had a long and reasonable partnership with NextGrid, I think you would want to stick with the partner you have, the partner that's shown patience and commitment and financial capacity, that has 100 megawatts of projects, no disputes with any communities over its projects, and that has been willing to agree to escalation of the rent to meet market expectations.
Thank you, Elise. All right, Bob, do you have something for us?
Yes, in paragraph 8 of the special grant variance and site plan approval, a removal bond of 125% of the actual cost of removal is required prior to the commencement of any site work.
All right, and so we're satisfied with that?
Yes, that's a standard condition that we put in all decisions that relate to these types of facilities.
Okay. All right. The only other concern I have in regards to those items is the battery energy storage systems. Do we know if the fire department and/or the engineers of the DPW have reviewed that and are comfortable in the location of the landfill in case something happens? So I motion at least for a review by the engineers and the fire department to review the systems.
Andrew Stewart, Building Commissioner. The only thing I would say about that is we've already kind of done that through the Zoning Board of Appeals process. They've already done all those reviews with all the departments, with everything when this was approved in January of 2024.
All right, so we're comfortable between the DPW engineers looking at it and the fire department having oversight in regards to what they're going to site for a battery energy storage system?
What? Yeah.
That's what all,
Yes.
that's what everything.
Okay, all right. You're all set. Any questions, any other questions you may have on top of that, or?
Just one comment. I just wanted to thank our team who ironed this out over the course of dozens of meetings. So Attorney Elise Soley, her Associate Attorney Clara Lane, Bob Galvin, Peter Moran, and Charles Sumner, who put in a lot of hours to iron this out. So I just wanted to say thank you, and it's a good thing for the town. Thank you.
I would agree with that.
Very kind, thank you. It's been a real honor and pleasure, and we're really hopeful that this is a long partnership and we have every reason to believe it will be a long partnership with NextGrid that produces income for the community on a former landfill for years to come.
Thank you, Elise. All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to motion that I move the select board vote to approve the lease amendment negotiated by outside special counsel Elise Zoli, Esquire, with NextGrid dated April 21st, 2026. Is that correct? Am I putting the right date down on there?
Yes, you are.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. All right, next
Thank
is.
you.
Thank you, Elise. Next is the changes to the building department fee schedule. Andrew, like to come up?
Hi, Andrew Stewart, Marshfield Building Commissioner. Here tonight to request the select board to approve some changes to our fee structure for the building department. The last time that we amended our fee structure was November of 2018. The select board approved changes back then to our fee structure. We were at that point kind of catching up with some of the other towns, and then a couple of years ago, all the other towns jumped back up and raised their fees as well, kind of going with the market as it were. So Marshfield has been kind of behind all the other surrounding communities as far as our permit fee structure goes. And one of the issues with our fee structure was it's so broad. There are so many little individual fees. So we tried to condense it, make it a little bit more straightforward, bring ourselves up to the same level of fee structure that, let's say, like Situate has, Hanover, as far as the residential. But one thing that we noticed as well is we have a lot more commercial space, industrial space than some of these other towns. And we have not been charging as much even as for commercial permits as some of these other towns. And with projects like the Mill Creek project, Modera, some of the larger 40Bs, the public storage building, projects that cost several $1 million, we were potentially missing out on fees that we could have been collecting. One of the, when I ran the numbers as far as what we are proposing tonight, if we had made those changes last fiscal year, we would have brought in an additional, at least just running the residential and commercial building permit fees and the electrical building permit fees. Didn't get into like a ton of the other ones. But just those main fees, we would have brought in another about $275,000 in fees last year. And if we had made the change the year prior to that, when we had the 40B project in town, we would have brought in another $500,000 in revenue for the town of Marshfield. I think this is a pretty significant thing that we can do, and it doesn't affect the town as a whole. It's a service fee, basically. You are paying for the inspections, the plan reviews, the permitting process, the other departments to look at it, the other departments to do their inspections, all of those aspects of it, the staffing, the record keeping, everything. So all of that goes into the fee schedule. But what the building department, we don't obviously use all of that fee, so it's a big generator for the town for revenue. So we see an opportunity here to increase revenues for Marshfield in a time when we're struggling a little bit. And I think it's something that it's not going to be outlandish. It's not going to put us over and above a lot of the other towns. It's going to bring us more into conformity with other towns, while also taking advantage of the fact that we have more industrial and commercial space available for people to develop, and try to take advantage of that aspect of it and bring some more money in for the town of Marshfield. So I submitted the updated fee schedule to you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, I see building permit fees as of 11/1/2018. And the only thing if I'm missing it in here, did you submit an updated schedule for the fees in regards to what you're looking at?
Yes, the one that is from 11/1/2018 is, that's the old one?
Yes.
I did submit updated.
I think the first 7
Schedules.
pages are the old one, and the final 2 pages are the proposed new fee schedule. And that's where it converts from a charge per square foot to a charge per $1,000 of contract cost.
Well, so there's two ways.
Hold on,
that-
let me just, make sure I could.
Should I answer your question, Mr. Darcy?
Yeah, I just was trying to give them kind of the end point of the old fee schedule and the start point of the new fee schedule, but I'll circle back to that.
Yeah, see, it doesn't clearly state, what pages are you looking at here? It clearly states the fee increase, because
It's the last two pages, there's no
we're talking
date
about
or
this, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have a date or a
Yeah, that's the
year
whole thing
on
is,
it.
yeah, so that's, I don't, that was the whole thing, is that if it was dated with the updated notes, and I would have saw, figured that, I think.
Do you have this?
Yeah,
Yes.
is it this one, right? You're talking about this
Yes.
one, and, is it this one as well?
Yes.
All right.
And there should be plumbing and gas fees as well.
Is it this one?
Those are all
Oh.
the ones.
Building department fees and commercial, what was the other one you had?
These are all the plumbing and gas and electrical fees.
I don't think this was in here, as far as I could tell. All right. All right, do you mind, here's my look at it, so I can, now I got a whole gist of this. We could take this up Monday before the select board, the town meeting, and go with it, so I can just review the fees and all that and everything a little more closely.
I was thinking maybe we could flush out some questions tonight, and if you're still not ready, then maybe we could vote before town meeting, but it might be good to ask some questions while we have Andrew available to us.
Chair, I would also just point out that according to what I've been informed by the town accountant, the revenue forecast that the town's been using for FY '27 includes this permit rate increase, these increases. So there would have to be an adjustment if they're not approved.
Let's put it this way, that's related to the budget end of it, right, Peter?
Yeah, I just
We're not
wanted,
discussing the budget end of it till June 15th, right?
right, you're not, but I just wanted to fully inform you.
No, I appreciate that. I don't want to jump into, I want to look at this first, and then if I have any questions or comments afterwards, then we can take it up. So, because like I said, 'cause I couldn't, with the new ones that Andrew gave us at the end, I didn't know these were the updated ones, because it wasn't, I guess you could say, clearly marked in a way. So let me just review them. If I have any questions, especially to Andrew, I'll reach out to Andrew about it, and then we'll go from there, all right?
Yeah, if you're not ready to vote until before town meeting, that's fine, but you mind if I ask Andrew a few questions just while?
Oh, no, go ahead. After.
Thanks. So, Andrew, in terms of well, thanks for proactively putting this together and for all the work that you put in. And it certainly does seem more streamlined and easier to follow, because you've converted some of the specific permit fees to a flat fee. And then I've noticed that kind of the big conversion is, instead of going from a charge per square foot, for some of the permits, it's a charge per $1,000 of contract cost. So is that something that'll help it stay more current with the times as they update and change, or kind of what was the methodology for that conversion?
Yeah, we've always done it per 1,000 of contract cost, but we also had an option to go by the square footage, and then we assigned a cost per square footage. Previously, that cost per square footage for cost of construction for new construction is at $110 a square foot. That's not what new construction costs these days. It's more like $250 to $350 a square foot. So we're outdated there, certainly. So you're not getting an accurate permit valuation and then basing the permit fee off of that. So that's what the square footage cost per square foot was kind of coming up with a cost. If we kind of doubted the cost, as we could kind of come up with it on our own and then base our fees off of that. But what the problem with that is that our square footage cost is so undervalued from what it realistically is these days, so that we were not getting an accurate picture of that and receiving really what the accurate fees should be for that permit. So that's part of it, and we've taken that aspect out of it, and the minimum permit fee has been $40. We've actually increased that up to $100. So any building permit is just going to be a $100 fee, and then anything beyond $100 would be that $13 per thousand cost. that alone, so we've eliminated all these permits that were $90, $80, $75, $66, whatever, and now they're all just 100. So that change alone really brought in a lot of revenue, just because of the amount of permits that we get in that range is quite significant. So those little changes really added up to be quite a significant addition. We're already bringing in, I think, roughly around $1.2 million in revenue a year. So this would hopefully bring us up to about $1.5 million in revenue a year for the building department.
So would it be fair to say that the new formula you're proposing is both simpler and more accurate?
I think so. I think it's a little bit easier to understand than kind of the convoluted thing, and we've tried to put it into a format here for you to understand. This isn't. We'll post something even that'll be a little bit easier to understand on the website too, and go along with an explanation as well. The other thing that we're going to do too is change how we are collecting some of the fees. What we used to do is if a structure or a job required a certificate of occupancy, so the town requires a certificate of occupancy for any new structure or any structural alteration to an existing structure. So even if you're knocking down a wall and putting up a LVL header in your house, that requires a new certificate of occupancy when you're done. What we've been finding, though, is that we collect that fee at the very end. So people will get their final inspection, and then we'll say, oh, you need to give us this fee to get your certificate of occupancy, and they won't close it out. And it's like, am I really going to start fining them in order to get them to pay for a certificate of occupancy? It seems ridiculous. So what we've decided to do is, when we're reviewing the permit at the beginning and we determine, yes, this is going to need a certificate of occupancy, we charge that certificate of occupancy fee up front with the permit fee. So now that is already paid, so that by the time you go through the process and you're ready to get your certificate of occupancy, you completed it, we just can give it to you as long as your documentation is. You don't have to pay an extra fee, and we don't have to chase you down or anything, and we're collecting that extra $100 right up front with all these things. So it's just another way for us to collect on the revenue, not miss that revenue stream.
Yeah, so you're just changing the timing of when you collect it to increase the collection rate percentage.
Correct, and it should have a good effect on it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, is there anything else you wanted to convey that you feel like we haven't asked about that you felt was important? Because I know, right, the whole purpose of the fees is to cover the administrative cost and the time of doing the work.
Yeah, and I think the thing that to impress upon everybody is that with the building department, it's not, the fees that we're collecting is not just for the building department, because there are so many other departments that are involved in the construction of a house or an addition. I mean, we have the zoning board of appeals, the planning board, the conservation commission, all these other departments, have review steps, contribute to it, have little inspections, do, closeouts, and it's all related to that building permit process. So it certainly transcends more than just the building department budget.
Thank you.
On the occupancy permit, especially where you were talking about, even if it's just an LVL change in the house, is it just the fee charge, or is it just something to generate revenue on that, or is there a point behind the occupancy permit charging that for that kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, the point to, so it's not a building code requirement, right? It's something that the town of Marshfield added in the zoning bylaw for their certificate of occupancy. And I think the rationale behind that was, so that if there was some sort of structural change, that the building department was saying, hey, after this structural change has been made to this existing house, it's still occupiable, it's, still has a certificate of occupancy even though it's been structurally altered. It's more of a, I guess, a statement of safety for the house, which, when so many people go, they come to the department all the time and they say, do we have a copy of our certificate of occupancy? Do we have this? And we'll be like, we don't. This is a good opportunity for us to establish that file going forward and make sure that everybody has, these structures do have a certificate of occupancy. And that's one thing that I've been focusing on in the last 6 years as building commissioner, is making sure that we're closing out permits, we're closing out documentation, and this is just be another step towards that goal.
All right, I appreciate it, Andrew.
Yep.
You all set, Steve?
Yes.
All right, hopefully we'll get this squared up Monday, all right?
Okay,
All right,
yeah, and
thanks.
if you need me, I'll be available.
I
for you.
appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
All right. Budget and town meeting warrant, Articles 3B, 3C. So there's been a lot of talk over the budget in regards to A budget, B budget, and as well as the override. Pam, did you want to speak on it? I think everybody has concerns, and
Pam Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge. Yeah, I wrote some notes. I don't know if you want me to just go straight through them. They're, not my opinion. They're basically what I would consider.
floor is yours, do what you want. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you want me to go through them all, or technically there's different topics within here. But if I run through them all, I'm going to put on reading glasses so I don't have to squint. I just wrote that there seems to be a lot of confusion. The the town meeting warrant does not match what's been talked about in these meetings. I want to use for an example, Mr. Darcy on March 30th spoke that a town meeting, that there were two steps to the override process. The town meeting would vote a budget, and that then we go to the ballot and vote. You stated that there was a key given to us, but what I see on the warrant does not match that description, that we are not doing anything at town meeting that is the step that town meeting would take in their part of the process to have an override take effect. So we've been talking in this room about one no override budget and one override budget. Town council used the term contingency budget on March 25th. But what you see in the warrant is no contingency budgets, and we have two. We don't have one no override and one override. We have two of the same type of budget on Article 3A. They are both normally voted budgets that use some amount of revenues that are available without an override. So nothing matches with the dialogue that's been going on. I have made the statement, which is along the same lines, that in Article 3A, base budget B is not a contingency budget. It does not need an override for that budget to exist or to be enacted. I state that this budget will eliminate budget A as soon as budget B is voted. If we pass budget A and then pass budget B is higher, it would be the one to take effect. Budget A is in the trash. Town employees, I've spoken to a couple, and people have written a little bit online on Facebook, that town employees are being told to only look at budget A, that budget B is not their budget, that they can't have that because it needs an override. But to me, that's not true. Budget B does not need override dollars to be enacted. As far as budget 3B and 3C go, they are only opinion paragraphs at this point. If people think that they're coming to town meeting to vote $4 million or $7 million to supplement a budget, they're only giving the opinion that they're okay with supplementing a budget, but they're not actually supplementing anything. Can't supplement a budget without the lines to do so. So those 3B and 3C are not a necessary step in an override. To tell you the truth, I feel like they're a waste of time. They don't add any monies to any budgets. 3C was added without a vote on March 25th, without a proper vote. There was a lot of talk about adding 3C, and then the vote that you described was to direct Charlie to give a presentation of sorts. So there was no vote. 3C doesn't even belong there at all. But neither one of them causes any action to happen anyways. Doesn't matter if people vote on them. Nothing happens. If we were to go into the fall, and there were monies, like if there was an override vote, say in June, July, August, we went into the fall to supplement, you'd use the same language, and you'd have a chart to supplement by. That would take effect. But 3B and 3C do nothing on June 15th. So some people have been thinking that budgets might be added to the warrant, that we're not finished. But the one thing I have here is I have a draft. The draft, I mean, there were probably multiple drafts, but I have a draft warrant right here. And if you look at the contingency budget 3B at the time, this I believe was dated in February, the end of February, it states that under the contingency budget heading in 3B, that we be using a schedule that's incorporated by reference herein. It says see Article 3B contingency budget on the following pages, provided that it's expressly contingent upon an approval of a Prop 2.5 override. And then in capital letters on the bottom, it says insert contingency budget with proposed override, basically here. This language about a schedule incorporated herein on the following pages and inserted no longer appears in Article 3B. It just states, do you want to supplement $4 million? It doesn't say anything about a schedule. So there's no room for a schedule. There's not going to be a schedule. The B budget that was originally possibly going to be here as a contingency budget is really a regular budget that has been moved into Article 3A. And it is no different than the budget next to it. Either one of them stand without an override. So, and the last thing I have that is of concern is when I saw this warrant printed, and I saw that that's where the 3B budget was, and I see that there is no room for any contingency budget. There doesn't seem to be a plan. We obviously aren't talking about one, even tonight. I said, this override is not going to take effect probably this year, which would be July 1st, 2026. I said this override will probably take effect July 1st, 2027. So I just put in an information request for any election warrants that have been drawn up. And this one was drawn up on March 11th by Attorney Galvin. And sure enough, here's your override ballot question that was on your agenda to vote that night, which you did not. You decided to postpone. But what's the starting date? It's right here, July 1st, 2027. That's next year. Okay? So what I see is, again, tonight you don't have the word vote. This isn't a discussion of vote. But what I'd like to see is, it's too late maybe to do it with Mr. Darcy on the board, but I would like to see after May 2nd that you have whoever is sitting next to you, that you vote at least some motions to make statements that tell people what these budgets are. That budget A is passable with no override. And that budget B, 3B and 3C, first of all, I'd like you to remove, pass over, withdraw 3C from the warrant, but also that 3B and 3C don't do anything anyways. So I'd like you to make statements on that at some point. If the public needs to come forward anymore, I haven't thought through any big formal complaints anywhere about this. I know the moderator should probably be passing over 3C. It's his duty to make sure that legal procedure's been followed. So I could write a complaint to him to make sure that 3C isn't even discussed at town meeting. But I'm just thinking a citizens' meeting with 25 signatures could be called again too, sometime after the election, May 2nd, to make sure that this is taken care of. I mean, the town employees are running scared because they're using only 3A. And 3B is totally available to them, all of those revenues. So that's my speech.
If there was an answer to be provided,
What was that?
if there's an answer to be provided to that, do you want me to see if the one can be provided?
I'll take any comments that anybody has to make.
Peter, can you shed some light on it if it's possible?
I'm not really sure I understand some of your points, but concerns about when you're looking at the B budget, I don't know if you're looking at including the cost of the regional schools, And then there are things that aren't voted on at town meeting that are incorporated into the budget, like the overlay that has been in negative territory the last couple of years. We're actually going to fund that this year. Also, the cherry sheet offset assessments don't get voted at town meeting, but have to be incorporated in. And according to the town accountant, when you factor those things into the B budget, it requires a $4 million override. That's where these numbers are coming from.
Well, if I can comment on that. Cherry sheet assessments, as he said, Mr. Moran said, do not have to be voted at town meeting. We had started adding them in, I think, at around 2017. We used to not put them on the budget. They don't have to be shown on the budget. They're not something that we actually appropriate and vote. The overlay also does not have to be voted at town meeting. That's something the assessors do. These things, if you put a budget forward, like you have in this warrant on Budget B, and you allow the town to vote on this, it is the obligation of the finance team to know there are enough revenues for it, to know there are enough revenues for this list of expenses and the ones that he is bringing up. That happens behind the scenes a little bit where they do the tax recapitulation. The revenues that are shown to us in the back of the book can be changed. We just talked about new revenues from the building department that I don't believe are listed here. So revenues, the final budget expenses and the final revenues are taken care of, and part of it is a little bit behind the scenes at tax recap time. This budget here, the responsibility of the finance team is to have us vote on a budget that the finance team knows we can afford.
Tax recapitulation, is done in a public hearing in November when when the tax rate is set.
Yeah.
The tax recap is done.
Yeah.
It's done in a public meeting. It's not done behind the scenes.
I didn't mean it that way. I meant
Okay, I
outside of town meeting, outside of seeing this.
I just think it's important to characterize things that are done in open public hearings.
Right.
It's not done behind the scenes.
Fine. I meant outside of what we're seeing at town meeting. We see these expenses, and there can be others. We have this little report on revenues here. Those can change and they can be reworked depending on what's really happening with revenues. All that really matters is this list of expenses here that adds to 123.9 has to be affordable. And it is clearly in Article 3A, which is not anything about contingency budgets. Base operating budgets, there is nothing in this wording here, and there will not be in the motion either, that says that this number in the B column has to be contingent upon an override. That would take place if a budget was added in 3B, and it would say it would contingent upon an override. There is no budget. There's no schedule. There's nothing to be added. Like I said, it was here, and it's a plan that didn't materialize. So, again, trying to add, I've gotten that explanation already from the town accountant, trying to say that there are other numbers that are going to be added later on that cause an override to happen is not a legitimate explanation. These numbers here do not need an override, and they do not create, this budget does not create a budget that is contingent upon an override. It's simply not, because the language isn't here. I mean, I'm reading black and white language. This isn't my opinion. This is black and white language right here. So.
Are you saying that if the town votes for Budget B, I believe, that would fully fund the town?
Well, it would fund it to the best of the town's ability. It's using the most revenues. The one next to it, 119 million, is missing. I mean, we have 3 million in property taxes available to us in new property taxes for this coming fiscal year. And 119.9 is not using those. That's why there's deep cuts there. I mean, the school budget is down a couple $1 million, So that's where they're getting, oh, we've got these really big cuts.
So are you saying that Budget A is not reflective of what our budget should be at right now?
Yeah, I would say that.
Is Budget B the more reflective
Yeah.
budget
B
that we
is
should
the
be
more
looking at
normal.
right now?
Budget B to me is the more normal budget. This is a very typical budget that we would vote on from one year to the next. Our budgets tend to increase like $3 million. That's what this is doing. It's a much more normal budget, and it's basically this saying we have enough revenues is a little bit of a promise. It's not, we don't vote on revenues, if I didn't already say that. At town meeting, we don't vote on a strict list of revenues. We're just basically promised that we have enough revenue to do this budget, and that's what this is. It's a regular B budget. It's not an override budget. It's not one that is contingent upon an override. And again, you just need to read the language here in Article 3A. There's no contingency, there's no wording for contingency, there's nothing about passage of an override. It's not until you get to 3B that language about passing an override is here. There's no lines to allocate any number you vote on. When you have no lines, you're not doing anything. You're basically just stating your opinion that, sure, I'll supplement the budget. The minute you got to October, when you finally did do a schedule, people could vote it down. People could say no. So you can vote yes here, B and C, and go to October, and people say, nope, not doing it. It doesn't carry over. It doesn't do anything. 3B and 3C are useless at this point.
Do you have anything to add, Peter?
I think there'll be extensive discussion of this in the advisory board and further explanation that hopefully will correct some of the things that you said tonight and clarify your understanding of them. That's why we want a clear, open, transparent process that is going to take place between now and June 15th so that everybody will understand exactly what they're voting on, what the ramifications of their votes are. That's what the finance team is trying to create, and there'll be plenty of time for people to ask questions at the advisory board and at town meeting and hash this stuff out.
So there appears to be some uncertainty at the moment. So in regards to the budget, from what I'm kind of hearing from you, would I be understanding correctly that maybe this override talk is premature right now?
No. If there are three options. One that's gonna have no override. There's one that's gonna require a $4 million override, and one that would be a $7 million override. You can ask town council if they're legal as to form. I'm sure that the moderator will address whether they meet or if he's satisfied with them. There may be amendments on the floor, up or down, but people are going to have a choice. They're going to know what they're going to get with each of the three budgets, and there'll be plenty of time to answer questions. But based on the work that Charlie Sumner did with Meg to prepare budgets, going back to 2 revenue reports that were provided to the board earlier this year, stating that there was between a $5 and $7 million revenue issue. So we've been clear. They have been clear about that from the get-go, and those are the presumptions that we're operating under. Be happy to, in the process between now and June, make sure that all questions are answered that the public has.
Anything to add, Pam?
I'd like to just say in regards to revenue, the revenue that's been shown in the back of the book is $123.9 million. The budget that's in the front, Budget B, is $123.9 million. That tells you that the revenue that's been reported supports the Budget B. Budget B doesn't need, an override budget is one that's too large for your revenues. A contingency budget is too large for your revenues. So you would make your regular budget $123.9 and then have something larger and say, oh, we need an override for that. We don't have any more revenue. Okay, 123.9 is not an override budget. Again, it's budget B, it's on section 3A. And I mean, you need to understand this for yourself. You are gonna be here, somebody new will be in the seat after May 2nd. And like I said, it should continue as a discussion, but you need to know. You need to know, understand, everybody needs to understand what Article 3A is. It's very simple. And all you have to do is read this paragraph. And it tells you there's nothing there about a contingency budget, okay? B is not a contingency budget that needs an override. You might want an override. Every time, you know, every town, every year could probably want a little override. But this is what, we're talking about legally. Does this need an override to make it pass? And the answer is no. Someone angry at me?
Used up your 15 minutes.
I don't know that we have 15 minutes, but whatever.
All right.
All right.
And the other thing, I guess, is the election warrant that was, you have questions on, right?
At the time, it clearly shows a plan for, you would have had to read this, to tell you the truth, this was here, this was also probably here the night where the big crowd was. And it was on the warrant, on your agenda again to vote.
All right, so you believe, your impression is that that election warrant created with the override question dated for fiscal year 27.
Fiscal year 28.
Yeah.
July.
It's not for this year, it'd be for next year, right?
For next year.
Bob, can you provide some
Yeah,
thought
your,
on that?
your board decided not to put that together. There was a draft put together, but your board never authorized an override vote. So what Ms. Keith is looking at is a rough draft of a potential election warrant.
It was ready to be signed that night. It did get passed over. There were.
No, I know it got passed over, but the
Yeah,
only is that that was a draft put together that we could have signed.
You could have signed
Yeah,
that night.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's got your signature lines and everything ready to go here.
Steve, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, when I talk about an override being a two-step process, right? So step one is town meeting, because town meeting does the appropriation, and then the ballot question refers to the appropriation that was made at town meeting. So that's what I'm referring to as a two-step process. So right now, we have a scenario where town meeting could choose to pass some level of an override and then be denied the right to vote on it at the ballot because it hasn't been scheduled. And so the reason it was discussed that night, that we didn't have to schedule it right then and there, we had to vote on the warrant that night because it had to go to print the very next day. So that's why it was very important that we voted that night on the 3C budget, which was the $7 million override. The reason we didn't have to vote that night for the ballot question is because that has to be scheduled 35 days out. So we had more time to circle back to do that. And then, of course, the composition of the board changed, and now it's deadlocked 1-1 where it can't go to the ballot.
But can I say that you just made the statement again that town meeting would vote an override that goes to the ballot. There is nothing on the warrant that town meeting has voted related to an override. Nothing that creates an action that then needs a vote at the ballot. We are not voting a budget that is too large for the town. We're not voting what's called an override or a contingency budget. We're not doing that. We also, in 3B and 3C, are not voting any budget lines, so therefore are also not voting a budget. We're not, the only one step the town meeting would make, the step that's in an override, would be to vote what's called a contingency budget. There is no contingency budget on this warrant. So therefore, we would go vote an override and then have to vote a budget some other time, okay? So making people go to an override vote first is not necessarily a good idea. We have not been shown any budget that
Pam, hold on a second.
shows where overrides would go.
Madeline. I mean, Martine, can you please be quiet, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Pam.
Martine, settle down. No, so again, the step for town meeting is not there. The step to go to the ballot vote could be there, but the step for town meeting is not there, where there is no contingency budget available for anybody to vote on. As much as they, some people might want, it's not there.
Right, but what you're referring to is the appendix, but we can provide that as a handout at town meeting and provide that well in advance of town meeting.
No.
And that's what we're talking about. The C budget and the B budget are the override, and town meeting has to do the appropriation.
Well, look, that goes back to this. The draft warrant showed contingency budget, and clearly had language in it to have a schedule referenced herein on the following pages and insert the contingency budget. That language, when you go to this, that language has been removed. There is no language about inserting any schedule, because I believe there was no intent. There's no intent to need a schedule when you're not starting your override until July 1st, 2027. But all of the language here, contingency budget, all of the language about inserting a schedule, having it on the following pages, that's missing. And it does say down here in the explanation for C, the same, there is nothing in C either that talks about inserting a schedule or having any budget. It does state that there might be a handout, but it doesn't say of what kind. And we don't vote budgets. We don't vote major budgets with $7 million in them off of handouts. So the language has been removed. There's no contingency budgets planned. There's no sign of it. There's no language. And that makes the step at town meeting does not exist at this time. Going to the ballot exists if somebody votes that in, but we don't have a contingency budget on the warrant.
Bob, are there any procedural or legal concerns that you have after reviewing the warrant that you think may have been missed?
No. I disagree with Pam Keith. If you'd like me to explain, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, please do.
Article 3A is the base budget. Article 3B is a warrant article separate from 3A, which incorporates the B budget, which I was told requires a override. 3C is a $7 million override. There was no schedule available on the night that the board voted to put that on the warrant, so a schedule will need to be created and can be handed out, giving the details that are required. I can't explain the revenue issue. What I can tell you is that the town staff, the town accountant has put the revenue forecast online, and it shows both the budget A and B and the need for an override warrant. This warrant fairly warns people that there's a base budget, there's an override budget with $4 million that's contingent on a Proposition 2.5 override, and a C budget, which is $7 million over the base budget. But you will recall the night that was voted as a result of what occurred that evening, and there was no schedule, and my expectation would be there will be a handout. Now, town meeting is also being delayed, and I assume that the advisory board is going to take a hard look at the A budget, which I call the base budget, the B budget, which is the $4 million override, and the C budget, which is the $7 million override. And some or all of those budget might change. But I think that the warrant fairly warns people that there's three budgets, and one is a base budget, one is a $4 million override contingent on a 2.5 override, and a C budget, which is a $7 million over the base budget contingent on an override.
Thank you.
I have one major comment. When he is using the term singular base budget A, if you read the heading, you'll see FY 2027 operating base budgets.
Which one are you looking at? What page?
Page 20. The heading on Article 3A. Base budgets, plural, A and B. Again, A and B are two options for a base budget, both of them one using less revenues than we have available, and the other one using the revenues that are given to us by the town accountant, $123.9 million. They're both base budgets. You vote one, the lower one first, most likely. Probably everybody passes it just to have a minimum budget. You vote B, it's a higher budget, it knocks A right out of the park. You're done. You have a B budget, it's your regular town budget. No override. There's no fair warning about three budgets here. there's, again, talk about supplementing. I can give an example. South Hadley just had an override vote where it failed at the ballot box, but at their town meeting, they actually laid out a normal budget and 4 additional lines for 4 different override amounts. The bottom number grew for each one. It did not grow by a lot. An $11 million override only showed $2.5 million in revenues. But they then asked their town meeting people, I believe they might have representative town meeting, they asked them 2 questions. And they asked them, we just want to get the sense. They actually put that word in the warrant, that we want to get the sense of, do you want us to go forward with a $9 and $1 million option? And I guess they voted yes, and it did go forward to the ballot, and it failed. But that's what this is. 3B and 3C is not a warning about us getting any budgets. It's just an asking at this point. The plan has changed from the draft, okay? The draft was planning on a contingency budget. There's no longer any language in 3B or 3C for a contingency budget, actually. There's no schedule lines attached here to, going to be inserted later, nothing there. The language is all gone. And it therefore then just gives you the sense of, do you want to supplement a budget?
Okay, so let me ask you this, Pam. Have you relayed this information to the advisory board?
Not yet.
Are
No,
you
I
planning on
plan
doing
on, I'll be talking from now to June 15th.
All right,
And you
but-
know what?
But the whole thing is that to give the advisory board a heads up, could you communicate this to them, because they can look into it further?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I plan on taking as much action as I can, because I can see what's not right here. And I really wish, it's a simple B budget, and it really should be voted on the 27th of April.
I mean, my look at it
Be done.
is, I mean, I'm grateful for everything that you've done now and in the past in regards to concerns in the budgets. My suggestion right now would be contact the advisory board, maybe either email them your information and/or sit down with them, show them everything that you have concerns with, and see if we can get some sets of eyes on it and see if they have the same concerns as you,
Yeah.
potentially.
Okay.
All right?
Yep, that will be done.
I appreciate that, Pam.
All right.
Is that all? Is that, you good?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. All right. Discussion number, let's see, 4, warrant article 32, sewer hookup. Steve, I don't know how much you've looked at this. I didn't realize it until it was brought up the last time. And I think Joe just asked a simple question on it, and then I started reading it, and it is kind of confusing with the scratch outs on it. But as I read it further into it, and I do believe I voted, as it says right here, the select board recommendations, yes. As I looked further into it, this looks like this isn't just an ADU thing. This looks like it could broaden out to other areas, say like if there's a street here that has a sewer, but there's no sewer line there, and I think, especially I think when we had, I think, who had to visit it? I think it was the Board of Public Works in regards to certain property behind the Housing Authority that they wanted to connect into their sewer line supposedly, and all that and everything. And I think with this this article here, Article 32, I think if we approve that, I think, in my opinion, it's going to allow something like that to happen, especially where it talks about easements and all that and everything. So all I'm looking to do is just change my vote to a no on this one, and everything like that. So, Bob, could I just publicly say that I'm changing my vote to a no, so make it 2-1, or what are we looking at here?
Well, the warrant's already printed, so.
Yeah, the warrant's printed, all right.
So I
yeah.
think if you want to say that at town meeting, you've changed your vote, I think you have that prerogative. But I think you're misunderstanding what I've been told this is all about.
Yeah, well, I'm reading this, I don't think I'm misunderstanding anything in regards to this, to be honest with you.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with authorizing piggyback connections.
Well,
It doesn't.
You can have that opinion, but the way I'm reading it.
Well, that's the opinion of the Board of Public Works, and they're the ones that developed
All
this.
right, well, I mean, that's, everybody's got their own opinion, the way I'm looking at it, so that's the way I wanted to look at it, so all I wanted to do is bring that up, just let you know, and all that, everything. Did you have anything to say on it?
Yeah, I think what the Board of Public Works is trying to do is clarify that it's one sewer hookup per property, right? So that if someone builds an ADU, they're not doing a second sewer hookup, because what they're trying to do is minimize the impact to the existing sewer main and try to minimize the level of disturbance to the surface and subsurface. So all they're trying to do is clarify that it's one hookup per property, so that if someone does do an ADU, they're not doing two hookups, because they're trying to minimize the amount of disturbance to the system.
I don't disagree with the explanation that was given, just that reading the language on this and trying to block out what they lined out and everything like that, I think it's opening up something that could have far greater consequences to us, in my opinion, in regards to that. So, all right, so I will note it, and I'll let Jim Fitzgerald know that I am changing my vote on that for the town meeting. Scholarship. So, there was a bunch of scholarships sent to us, and I read everything. I'm sure you did, Steve, as well. Some of them were interested in all that and everything. It's always nice to get the background of the kids and the family and all that and everything. There was 4 out of all the ones that we've had that I felt comfortable met the criteria for what we put forward last year in regards to the scholarship when we changed it. The first person I thought qualified the most, if you agree with me, Steve, is Nathaniel Beauchamps, I believe is the last name. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I would say so. He was definitely a leader in the clubhouse for me, and the first thing that I look for is, how much effort did they put into the application, and did they fill out the essay portion, because that shows that they put the time and effort
Yes.
into it. And then I look at, do they fit the criteria, and, some of the submissions, there was a lot of personal stories that they put in there that I won't get into in a public meeting, but he has a very powerful story, and I do feel comfortable saying that he's an Eagle Scout and very involved in the community, and so I do think that he put a lot of effort into it. He's very involved in the community and fits the criteria we're looking for, and is certainly worthy.
Okay, so we're good on that? All right, so I move that the board vote to award the $500 Select Board Scholarship to Nathaniel Beauchamps. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Approve a new list returning seasonal beach hire candidates, provided Lieutenant Sullivan. Lieutenant Sullivan, you look up front, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lieutenant Sullivan from the Police Department. I oversee the Beach Commission. We're very excited this year. We have a good list of names returning to the beach that we request that the board reappoint for this year, and also some new candidates too that Cindy and I feel very good about. Hiring these people will give us the ability to give everybody that goes to the beach a level of service that they deserve, and hopefully we get the blessing from the board.
There's, I was looking at the lifeguards and supervisors. Only 10 lifeguards? Am I looking at that right?
Nope, so that would be the returning lifeguards and supervisors. There's one document that's the returning and one that's the new. And I can provide that to you if you need it.
All right, I see what you're saying. So the
Yeah.
next page over is.
Yes.
All right, okay. So add that list to, that's a lot of employees.
It is.
With all those employees, how many hours are they averaging in the town? Do you know?
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, some of the kids want to work like 3 days a week, some want to work 4, some want to work 5. So every year is kind of fluid with how many people we hire. last year we had to come back in the middle of summer, and you guys were gracious enough to hire some additional people. Hopefully, we don't have to do that this year. But the actual amount of working hours in a daily operation doesn't change. So the amount of people is the same all the way through.
Yeah, so I guess looking at, especially after you bring up last year, is that if you have a pile now, you don't know what's gonna happen when summer starts, some of them drop off, right?
That's right.
You have that extras in there.
That's
so
right.
I could see that. I don't have any other questions really. Steve, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you.
All right. I move that the board vote to approve the list of new and returning seasonal beach hire candidates provided by Lieutenant Sullivan for the 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Sullivan. All right, the next one is for harbor master and assistant harbor master and assistant shellfish constables. You know harbor master Mayo?
Good evening, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Everybody, how are you?
So if you want to just give us a rundown,
Yep.
or give the general public a rundown.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me, Harbor Master Mike DeMayo. This is our seasonal appointments for assistant harbor masters, returning harbor masters. And this year we have 5 new ones coming on board. And we also have a couple assistant shellfish constables as well. I have 14 employees returning, and we look to hire 5 new ones this year. And to echo on your prior question to Lieutenant Sullivan, not all the kids get 40 hours. Some might get 8, some 16, some 12, 24, 32. It all depends. A lot of these kids are, sophomores in high school. Some are college kids returning. Some are retirees. So it's, it's based on hours. It's within the budget, and this is what we have for this year.
And especially in regards to our budget situation.
Yep. Yep.
It's just like the normal hire, like the normal amount of people that you hire, and I guess looking at the budget is, can we afford it?
Well, 2 good questions. It's actually 3 more people than we had last year. This is the first time since I've been harbor master since '07 that all the employees are coming back. 2 or 3 of those are graduating college this year, so I know they're going to be moving on to bigger and better things. That's why we're bringing 5 new kids on that are in high school. So they'll backfill those kids that are potential leaving. We have 2 kids that are going to EMT school, and they'll probably be moving on before October's end. I'm anticipating that they'll be moving on. That way we have the bodies that we need. As far as the budget, my budget was cut $25,000 as of today. I found other means to offset that if I have to provide my budget to 100%. So that's been given to the town accountant.
So,
Basically level fund it.
I mean, let's put it this way, Peter, we could vote to approve these
Yeah,
people to hire, but the
Yeah,
whole thing is that
subject-
if there's a
yeah.
budget matter, we're not going to be,
you're not obligated to, you're not, this doesn't obligate you to anything.
so if we have to make some cuts,
Right.
it allows it. Okay. All right. Any questions for you, Steve?
No, thank you.
All right. Move that the board vote to approve the annual appointments of assistant harbor masters and assistant shellfish constables from the list submitted by Harbor Master Mike DeMayo, contingent upon the completion of all required hiring procedures. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
All right, the next one is approved draft letter from town treasurer, Melissa Morrissey. Hello, Miss. How are we doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to read the letter to the record, or would you like me to do it?
I didn't bring it with me.
I can't hear you.
I didn't bring it with me, I just brought some answers to,
Oh, okay. All
or some
right.
information.
I will read it in for you then.
All right.
So this is addressed April 13, 2026, to the Honorable Michael J. Rodriguez and to the Honorable Joanne Comerford. RE strong opposition to Senate Bill 2874 and House 2 outside sections, elimination of municipal motor vehicle excise and pocket fine enforcement marking. Dear Chair Rodriguez and Vice Chair Comerford, please accept this written testimony on behalf of the Marshfield Select Board regarding S 2874, an act to increase opportunity by ending debt-based drive restrictions. We respectfully urge you to vote against the provisions of this legislation that would eliminate debt-based driver's license suspensions related to non-payment of motor vehicle excise taxes. While the intent of the bill is appreciated, we believe it would result in significant material unintended consequences for the municipalities across the Commonwealth. Motor vehicle excise taxes are among the largest source of local receipts for the communities, and the Registry of Motor Vehicles hold for non-payment of motor vehicle excise taxes currently the only effective enforcement mechanism available to municipalities to ensure collection. Even with this enforcement tool in place, excise tax collection rates in the year of the billing are already substantially lower than those of other local taxes. Without a comparable mechanism, collection rates are likely to decline further, resulting in an unavoidable increase in property taxes. Aside from income and sales taxes, the motor vehicle excise tax is one of the few taxes that impact residents regardless of property ownership. It is often the only tax paid by both renters and property owners. Currently, many taxpayers only pay outstanding excise tax bills when a registry holds affects their ability to register a vehicle or renew a license. Removal of this enforcement tool will significantly impact a municipality's ability to collect these taxes. By way of example, Marshfield's motor vehicle excise tax collection rate was 93%, representing approximately $4,755,262 in revenue. The additional 7% was not collected, equates to roughly $253,869. Under the current law, this amount is expected to be collected in future years through registry holds, which can be released within 24 hours of payment. If this payment mechanism were to be eliminated, there would be no clear expectation of recovery. As a result, municipalities would be required to increase overlay reserves to cover the shortfall, doubling the tax impact. At a time when housing affordability is a pressing concern and a key priority of this administration, this legislation would exacerbate existing challenges. The loss of an effective enforcement tool would negatively impact property owners and businesses through increased property taxes as well as renters, who would likely experience these costs passed through higher rents. Alternative enforcement methods available to municipalities, including collection agencies and credit reporting, would impose additional administrative burdens and costs, creating further financial harm for both communities and taxpayers. For these reasons, we respectfully ask you for your support in striking any changes to Section 2A of the Chapter 68 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Preserving this enforcement mechanism is essential to maintaining municipal fiscal stability and avoiding further impacts on housing affordability. Thank you for your consideration and for your continued service to the residents of Marshfield and the Commonwealth. Please do not hesitate to contact us with any questions. Sincerely, the Select Board. Steve, did you have any concerns or anything, questions in regards to how this is written?
No.
I don't have either. I think it's, I guess I'll have to ask is, did you write this or is this a template of something?
Oh, they shared many
It's a
templates,
template?
and we all
I'll decide here. This is one we're going to focus in on?
based it on our important parts, yeah.
Okay.
The bill, the budget did go to the House, and that language is not in it. So that was last Wednesday. On Friday, they had the opportunity to submit amendments to the budget. So there's a possibility that
It
it's
could be
being added
reinserted.
back in. And then the Senate has a bill with similar language in it that they are looking at. So it's, it's still really important to get that letter in to show the support on keeping the marking.
Yeah, like I think the last meeting, I think we all agree that this would have a
Yeah.
significant impact on us
Yeah.
if they made these changes, without a doubt. So, okay.
Yep.
With that said, I move that the board vote to approve the draft letter submitted by Treasurer Collector Melissa Morrissey and to authorize Ms. Morrissey to send the letter to the Chair of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, as well as the Vice Chair of the House Committee on Ways and Means. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you, Melissa. Discussion, capital budget bylaws, Jack Griffin. Is Jack here? Oh, there you are. How are we doing, Mr. Griffin? Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. I'm a little under the weather. I've had a cold for 10 days. I don't know if it's
You're over there.
So Jack Griffin, 89 Beach Street. Good evening, everybody, and I'm glad everybody is here. I'd like to start with my related concern. The capital budget still has not received confirmed funding sources for items that we are going to present at town meeting. Now, I've been asking for this for months, and I understand what we're going through in the background, but I was rushed to put the items up and get them on the warrant and still have no funding. And I did reach out to Peter. Peter did get back to me. Then I reached back to Peter saying I was going to be away. Then I sent them alternative days, and I never heard anything back. The other, I've also sent a letter to Eric in regards to the remaining bond balances. And Eric got back to me and said he reached out to May, town accountant, and that I should forward the letter to our town treasurer, Melissa. I'm sorry, I don't know your last name, I forget. And I did that, and I didn't get any answer. And then I did it again, and I understand if you go to bond council, it takes a long time to do it, maybe. I didn't know, but as of this date, I still don't have that. But really, those two issues are directly tied to the capital project fund, which is why I'm here tonight. Under 9514, our bylaw, the town established the capital project fund to collect funds from completed capital projects, including free cash, enterprise funds, and unobligated bond balances, and to serve as a funding source for future capital needs. This bylaw further states that this fund is to be used as the priority source for capital appropriations, and that free cash should not be used when equal funding is available in this fund. My understanding, and I would love to ask Town Council Bob Galvin to confirm, is this is not a spending account, but a funding source that should be used first before considering borrowing or debt exclusions. So I have a few questions, and if you give me permission, I would like to speak to Town Council.
Yep.
What is your attorney, Bob Galvin, I'll be formal. What is your interpretation of the capital project fund and its intended use?
I think just what you said.
Are all required balances, particularly on obligated bonding funds, being transferred into this fund as required by the bylaw?
Clearly, they are not.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry, Bob.
Clearly, they are not.
Okay, thank you. What is the current available balance in the fund? I can answer that. It's zero.
I can't answer those questions.
Zero?
I can't answer that question because I'm not the town accountant and I'm not.
It's not being put forward to us as a number, the zero. And are we using this fund as a priority source before proposing new borrowing or placing additional burden on taxpayers?
Well, if there's no money in it, clearly we are not.
Thank you. Because right now, without clear funding sources, without clarity on remaining bond dollars, and without confirmation that this fund is being fully utilized, it's very difficult to make informed decisions at town meeting. I am simply asking for transparency, compliance with the bylaw, and a clear accounting of the resources we already have before asking residents to fund more. And as you know, I went on and on last week, and I won't go on anymore, but I'll just point out the $100 million high school, $5 million almost left over, $3.8 million match that we were ready to go to. We did a debt exclusive override, and I don't know if it was signed. I asked Eric if he would hold off so that we could use that money instead of going to debt exclusion and save the taxpayers that money. And that's my statement right now, and I would love to get answers.
So All right, so the whole thing is that the first thing you brought up is regards to where you're getting your funds.
Say that again, because not only am I deaf tonight, I'm double deaf because my ears are plugged.
As you and I have conversed before, you have not gotten answers where you're getting the funds for your capital projects, correct?
That is definitely an issue, yeah. I haven't got those yet.
Okay. Melissa, would you be able to answer that right now? Because it seems like there's I'm being informed that you're the one who's supposed to be, I guess, overseeing that.
We sent the list of unexpended balances to our bond council.
That's a different question. The first question you asked was on the
monies,
the
capital.
The capital items that I already put forward.
Yeah.
That's Peter's answer.
Which is?
So what I'm looking for, and was trying to locate, were articles that were passed for previous capital expenditures that weren't bonded, that had balances in them so that they could be repurposed, so that you could access them for capital expenditures without new appropriation at town meeting. And I'm
Okay.
trying to get a final list of that from the accountant, and as soon as I have it, I'll give it to you. So that'll settle that. The repurposing of bonds for new purposes is very complex. And to put them, take money that was appropriated and bonded for a certain purpose, and then put it into another fund, and then pull it out would require, I've never seen it done.
Chatham is doing it down in your neck of the woods, and Lexington is doing it. And there's a couple of other communities.
I've never seen it done. It's,
I checked.
yeah, I'm happy to look at it, but I think it's very complex because when you bond, you're bonding for an explicit purpose. And when you vary from that, bond counsel gets very concerned, and rating agencies do. So repurposing warrant articles that use cash or levy isn't as much of a problem as bonded money. Especially then on top of it for a debt exclusion, that's another layer of complexity. So I don't think it,
Well, if you don't sign the debt exclusion, then it doesn't take place, right? And you just put the money in.
well, if the debt exclusion's approved and it's approved for a certain purpose, and then what you're talking about is there's excess that was raised.
From the school, which is
Yeah,
a school
something like
project, to another
Go
school.
back and use it for another purpose, you're going to have to pull that money and put it through 2 or 3 different hoops at least.
Well, the one thing that amazes me is that, I'm saying go to school, building, but yet we went from a senior center for $900,000 from a bond, and you're sitting in part of the reason why this room is as big. The $900,000 was brought here. So I guess it can be done.
I wasn't here when any of that happened, Jack. I'm just talking about what
Yeah, I know.
what I've seen and what I've done, and I think you're it's not as easy as saying, okay, it's not.
I
here,
understand.
Put it there.
I understand,
Bring
but
it
you know
back
what, Peter? We need to try.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing.
Okay, thank you.
But I'd need steps from bond council to follow so that the rating of this town doesn't get affected adversely.
Okay, thank you.
I sent the list to bond council to
Can you pull the
review
mic?
it.
Can you pull the mic up there?
Okay.
Sorry, I did send a list to bond council to
Okay.
review,
I wanna get
and we're
you
waiting for, it's okay, I already have a cold.
Oh, believe me.
We're waiting for them to respond, because it is very specific about
Awesome.
like or similar projects.
awesome. That's what I
and
thought,
things. So
maybe.
it was 2 weeks ago, and I have reached out a few times, and
that's
they're
great.
still reviewing it, so.
That's great.
They'll get us any information,
One
if
of
there's
the-
anything we can do.
One of the things that's also, I didn't want to go through the whole thing, but I just want to read this part. Not later than July 15th each year, each department having a capital appropriation in either an enterprise fund or the general fund for which there is unexpended and unencumbered balances at June 30th shall provide the town accountant and treasurer collector with a detailed course to carry that balance forward into the next year. And it goes on and on. But I just want to say that there is a deadline and there is a date for it all. And I think, if we do it, we'll have money coming from off these projects. Now, bond council's hard, but then you have, for instance, when you had the $120,000 for the sewer, the water mains, and now they're asking for $120,000 for water mains this year, and there's $120,000 left over for water mains. I mean, boom, that's a no-brainer. And there's more. When you have cash, when you use free cash, and we do, that definitely should come back. And there are other things that, when you do this, you get to stay on top of the project. You really do, and you see where it's going. And that's really all I have to say, and I appreciate what you did. Thank you.
Steve, you have anything to add?
Did you have any points of clarification you wanted to add, Bob, from a legal perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we have like a 20-year history at least. It predates my time as town council of not putting funds in this account. And as long as I can remember, our warrants have been prepared with capital items being funded by free cash or borrowing or, funds from the enterprise accounts or maybe some other sources. I don't know if there's been any transfer from stabilization. I don't remember that particularly, but, it's maybe we should use this fund, but I think that there's some potential issues in using that fund going forward. And I can recall the town meeting approving the use of unexpended funds that were borrowed on the senior center here, and there was a town meeting warrant article, I think that was approved by bond council because it was a similar use of the funds, but those were funds that were already borrowed. I think this year we have an article to rescind borrowing authorizations where we didn't need the funds. That's a very different circumstance, and that actually helps us with our bond rating, so that's something we should be doing on a regular basis, and we do it in a lot of towns. Borrowing money for another purpose altogether, when you've told the bond entity that you're going to be building a school or a senior center with, it seems extremely problematic to me. And, the enterprise fund thing is an issue that we'll have to sort out going forward. But, when the enterprise funds, which are funded by ratepayers, provide money for a capital project, they don't expect those ratepayer funds to be falling into a general fund and used for some other purpose. They expect those funds to go back to the enterprise. I mean, that's what a ratepayer would expect. And I see a potential conflict here in the language of the bylaw and the way enterprise funding works, and I'm wondering whether the language of the bylaw might even predate our adoption of enterprise funding. I can't answer that question, but I am concerned about that because enterprise funds are supposed to be segregated funds, and when they provide that money for an expense for a water project, if it's a $500,000 water project and we go to town meeting and we ask to do that and they save, because they do it really quick, they do $450,000. I don't think that means that the general fund of the town should get $50,000 into the capital fund. That doesn't mean Jack's, capital budget fund shouldn't be regularly funded, but it may not be able to do that, properly. So I worry about that.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on that. The $120,000 for the water mains was a bonded project. It was from years ago. They have a current one right now. The new bonding rate is going to be much higher. And why not take the interest rates from 10, 15 years ago and use that? I think that makes more common sense when it's written in it that we can do it.
Well, I think if bond council approves that, Jack, I would not be in any way opposed to that. But what I'm worried about is if there's a $500,000 water project and we do it for $450,000 because the weather was favorable, or the cost of materials went down, or the cost of labor went down, and we got it done cheaper, I would expect if you're a water ratepayer, you'd probably be pretty upset if the $50,000 that came from the water retained earnings, or
Right.
whatever it came from, started going to the general fund.
Yeah, there's so many other illustrations. For instance, the school, when it was being built, had you had to do the pre-work on it, pre-construction surveys and everything else. It was asked for $1 million. It's only $500,000. So the school told me, right now there's $500,000 left over from that. They did rugs in schools. There's tons of money over there. They have 4 generators that they were allowed to buy, and they can't get them. And Tom Miller said we should return that money, but I'll probably get in trouble, quote and unquote. And there's so much more out there. There's a lot of fruit hanging.
The school budgets are not an enterprise fund, so, I mean.
But I'm just saying, it's the same thing, you know? If
Well,
there's-
I mean, I agree with you. If there's a lot of extra money left over, that money should be turned in.
It's
Not
it's
respend.
hanging
I think
fruit.
people should get a chance to vote on where that money goes. I agree with you.
The other thing, and here I go, I'm going on long because I'm thinking I'm dangerous, but it also, I've heard of many projects, and I'm not going to pick on any department right now, but instead of, when the money came down, they had all this money left over. Let's just say they added a lot more things to their original ask and outside of the box that they should have stayed in. And the other thing, this may be discipline. When a department goes and asks for a request and says, hey, we need $2 million for this, and there's $1 million left over, it goes to us, and they're going to go like, no, we got to do this right. We don't want to let all this money down. That's another, could happen. It's a could happen. And I think that this was passed in 2021, and for 4 years, 5 years right now, it's never been funded. And what does that say? So anyways, I appreciate everybody. I hope I get the answers from bond counsel that are positive, and I would appreciate that everybody's listening out there too, that there is a lot of fruit hanging out there on projects. And as temporary town administrator said, he's looking for it right now too. So I want to thank everybody, and I'm headed home. Thank you.
All right, Jack, thank you. Well. Okay, legislative audit letter. I'll read this, but you're good with it?
Yes.
See what they've written?
Yep.
April 14, 2026, dear Speaker Mariano and Senate President Spilka. 2 years ago, Massachusetts voters approved a ballot question authorizing the Massachusetts State Auditor to conduct audits, specifically including performance audits of both chambers of the state legislature. The measure passed with an overwhelming majority, receiving 71.2% of the vote statewide and 73.5% in Marshfield. Despite this clear mandate, no audit has been conducted. Conducting the audit is a fundamental question of honor and democracy. Voters made it clear that the Massachusetts State Auditor can audit the legislature, just as her office already audits state agencies, county governments, and municipalities. Regardless of one's view on the audit itself, elections must matter, and ballot questions should reflect the will of the people. The Massachusetts legislature should honor the will of the people and respect the results of the 2024's question 1. We urge you to allow the Massachusetts State Auditor to proceed with the audit. Respectfully, the Select Board. I move that the board vote to approve the letter addressed to Speaker Mariano and Senate President Spilka regarding proceeding with the Massachusetts State Audit. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the National Opioid Settlement. I was trying to read this and figure it out, so Peter, looks like you're going to give some background to it. So hopefully you can break this all down and give more understanding and clarity to it.
Sure. This has been ongoing litigation to which the town has been a party for probably the last 8 years or so. They've picked off one drug company after another, and now you're down to some small ones that, or some small in comparison to the others. There's a settlement that is proposed or that has been reached, and if the town is interested in partaking in it, you have until the 4th of May to indicate your willingness to participate. What this is basically going to do is bring in a sum of money. The communications that we've gotten does not identify the amount of money that we would get. It costs us nothing. It just, do you want to participate in the settlement and get your share? So, in prior jobs, I've always signed on to this just to, to make sure that the town got its share.
Any questions, Steve?
No, it's just a large class action lawsuit that, we've been a part of.
Yeah. There's no cost to us either on this,
No,
right?
this doesn't cost anything. It gives you the opportunity to share in the settlement.
Bob, you have anything else to add on?
No, this is the right move where our fee agreement with the lawyers is contingent, which means if it doesn't cost us anything, they take a fee from a percentage of the money that's recovered, and we've done really well with this.
And in regards to this, the opioid settlement, is it, when it does get settled, is this money going to be
So go into
directed?
the
Is it going to be
opioid funds.
It's going to be required to go in the opioid funds thing? Okay.
It's definitely related, so it would go right there.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add, Steve? You good?
No, thank you.
All right. So I guess the motion would be move the board vote to join the class action?
Participate in the new national opioid 6 remnant defendant settlement.
Okay, we'll go off that motion of Peter brought forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, discussion vote, Brant Rock Block Party request, Jim Maratis to give background. So I think there's a thing to be posted, and it is, okay.
James Marathis with the Brant Rock Village Association. Also, Scott Dixon is on the line. We're planning the annual event that they usually have at the chapel. Only this year, we're trying to expand it a little bit to include live entertainment after the day event. The day event would have a taste of Marshfield during the day from like 12:30 to 4:30. We'd also have vendors there, food trucks, and then we would have live entertainment from 5 to 8 p.m. I've met with the police department. They're going to require 3 details. I have a map showing the location of the details, and then they want a list of the vendors, and there will be no public drinking on the chapel property. This is something that the board does every year, but they've never expanded it to include live entertainment. We thought it would be good for the community and have an event that people could walk to from their homes and create something for the neighborhood, especially during the summer. So this would be on August 15th from 12:30 to 8 p.m.
The problem with this is that I don't have any paperwork to go off of here in regards to any requirements and everything.
Well, the requirements I got from the police department were that the fire department would have to inspect the propane tanks for any of the vendors. Any of the food vendors would have to have permits from the Board of Health, and any large tents would require the building inspector to inspect them. The police department gave me that list of requirements that we would have to meet, along with a list of the vendors and their contact information.
Is there any more that should be added to this, Pete, at least for our file, instead of going off a screenshot here in regards to what's sent? I mean, I know there's an email here in regards to things, but I mean, is there some more paperwork that should be filled out in regards to this?
This is
I mean, we've got
a,
a road closure at Ashburn and Ave and Franklin Street,
yeah,
so I don't even know if the
it'd be a
residents
block
would be-
party form to fill out, but
would be, it would be.
it would contain basically what's in this correspondence dated April 16th. So the board could vote contingent upon that block party request being filled out, consistent with the information provided.
What's the block party request, do you know?
Well, what he's describing fits the definition of a block party, which typically municipalities will put out, approve a permit, which will detail the time, the date, and the hours, and the conditions that the town sets, such as fire safety, police details, road closures, how the roads are closed. In certain circumstances, depending on the size of the activity, there can be a fee imposed, but usually not. So, in my experience, what's been detailed here, could easily be approved. In addition, I don't know if you want to, do permits for the food vendors. Whether or not they would require permits, I don't think so, because it's a short event, but that's within the chair's purview as well.
Well, the food trucks, generally, we would have them, if they're not part of our, was it the victual licenses?
Yeah, they would get a one-day permit,
And the permit, and,
and you could condition any approval of this on all of them being permitted as well, and you could subsequently approve them as well.
I don't like it, the fact that, I mean, it's got a list here, but generally, we have paperwork that's from the town that they fill out to go with this.
If you want to table this and we can get the paperwork filled out and have him come back with the paperwork at the next meeting, I think, I'd be happy to work with you to make sure that it's filled
Yeah,
out.
it's typically just a
Yeah,
one-page
it's a
document
one-page
with the
document.
same
I'm
information
happy to sit
that
down.
I'm
and-
providing here today. I mean, this is something that they do every year.
All right, let's just do that, and then get the paperwork filled out, and hopefully Monday before the town meeting, we can take this up and
I can
and move it along. all right?
Probably get this done with you in the next couple of days.
Okay, great.
right.
We just wanted to make sure we have time to book the vendors and get the event scheduled.
I don't think there's going to be an issue with the gym at all. It's
Okay.
just- They're just, I don't think Steve or I would be opposed to it.
Super.
I would just say that just have the proper paperwork in, we'll
Okay.
square it up. All right.
Great, we'll take care of it right away.
All right, thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Cindy?
I did want to add, as a resident of Ashburton Ave, I think the residents should be notified.
Yep.
At least 2 weeks in advance. And also let you know the Brant Rocks Chapel Association has not voted on this. This has not been brought before the board. And I know Mr. Marathas asked me, and we've been having trouble emailing back and forth about the restrooms. I think due to the number, the comfort station would not be, should not be used. So you would need to get porta potties. And then the parking lot would be available after 4 PM, but not before then unless we can come to some arrangement.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
Okay?
All right, there's some more added to this, so.
You want to help me fill this stuff out?
Of course,
Okay.
not a problem.
We had to add porta potties to the budget anyway, so we're okay.
All right, so Cindy, can you just email your concerns and requests to Peter and the select board, just so we
Peter.
know? and-
Oh, she comes up and visits.
Yes, yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
All right, administrative assistant position, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to fill this once again, from the sounds of it. Chelsea DaCosta, she is currently in the building department. sat down, I think last Thursday, with Danielle and Ashley. Re-asked the questions they asked in the original interviews with everybody, and then some. Chelsea seems to know that what she's getting into, and she wants to use it as a hopefully potential stepping stone to bigger and better things for her. So she seems eager, and also with her skill set, I didn't have a problem with it. Do you have any concerns or questions or thoughts on it, Steve?
No, she seems more than qualified and like she'd be a good fit.
Yeah, I hope so. For a longer period of time that everybody's sticking around for her, and so let's see here. I move that the select board approve the hiring of Chelsea DaCosta to fill the full-time administrative assistant vacancy to the select board, and authorize HR Director Danielle Carrick to issue a letter of employment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
And I think I think we consider it still on the agenda. Should we discuss about Ashley's position right now, or wait for another time, Peter? What do you think?
Wait for another time. We're, we'll be able to fill it with people that have done that job before on a part-time basis until we can advertise and see who we can bring in. We've also got some ideas about who can move into the building department and fill that slot as well. So
Yeah, with Chelsea gone.
Yeah.
I know they said that there was one person on the list. They had to-
yeah, we don't want to have them shorthanded for long, but Kate and Bev have said that they'd pitch in until we get somebody in.
All right, going back to the backup bench, I guess you could look at it.
Yep.
All right. Approval annual earth renewal permit for Biagini. This is a annual thing for the most part. We are writing to request the annual renewal of earth removal permit for parcel F12-02-02 Ames Way. This pit has been in operation since 1950. We have supplied many builders and homeowners in Marshfield with gravel and fill from this location over the years. It was previously a gravel pit before we acquired it. Thank you, Dana Biagini. And right here, they have a load pit count report. In 2025, May it was 16, June it was 22, July it was 32, August was 28, September it was 18, October was 4, and in 2026, March, there was 6. Certificate of insurance. And then Gary Russell, Director of Public Health, dated 03/25/26. Witnessed the measurement of seasonal high groundwater determinations at the Biagini Sienna gravel pit on March 18, 2026. The measurements in the 3 monitoring wells were noted as follows. Monitoring well number 1, no water at 204 feet. Monitoring well number 2, no water at 243 feet. And monitoring well number 3, no water at 444 feet. And that's it. Any questions or comments, Steve?
No, thank you.
I move that the board vote to approve the annual earth removal permit for 2026, 2027 to Biagini Incorporated. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. To schedule special town elections, Steve, to give some background. Go for it, Steve.
All right, so the last time we discussed this at a previous meeting, you wanted to know what the status of the recall was before we scheduled any special elections. Because if there were going to be 2 elections, it made more sense to have them both on the same day financially so that you're only paying for 1 election rather than 2, which makes sense, right? So I feel like we have a status update at this point. We know that the recall signatures were certified this morning officially by the town clerk and the registrar of voters. And so now that that's been triggered, right, we have to schedule a special election no fewer than 60 days and no more than 70 days from today. And under state law, we have to schedule a special election 65 days out. So from our previous discussion, we know that Saturday, June 27th is available at the high school. from our discussion with the town clerk. So I thought it would make sense to discuss scheduling the special elections on Saturday, June 27th.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's certified and the charter says that we can set a date, at this moment in regards to what I'm going to do in some uncertainty, I'm not ready to make those dates just yet.
How much time do you need, or what outstanding questions do
To be honest with you, I'm probably going to have to discuss this matter with some legal counsel in regards to the issue, so I couldn't tell you at the moment.
Okay, what is your concern at the moment?
Just the whole process, so I'm just...
Okay. Bob, are there any timetables that we have to adhere to here, given the 60 and 70-day window?
Assuming that a certification letter was delivered today, Eric has 5 days to decide whether he wants to resign before you have to take any action, so might be a bit premature until Eric has had that opportunity to consider that. After that period of time, the select board has to schedule an election if Eric decides he's not going to resign. And that's kind of really where it's at. You know, we won't know until Eric knows what he's going to decide to do. So, but after 5 days, the select board has an obligation to schedule that election.
Right, and the issue with the timing is that in order to have a special election Saturday, June 27th, April 22nd, tomorrow, is the control date. So then we'd be looking at something in July. It's July 4th is the following Saturday.
I don't know what to tell you, Steve. I'm not the one who did this, you know, so this is where I'm standing. This is where I'm going to stand at the moment until I have things squared up on my end. I'm not rushing into anything if I don't need to.
Okay, are you comfortable scheduling the special election to fill Trish's vacancy?
No, because I think we're going to try and do this all in one shot. So let's see where we go from on my end, what happens there.
Are you still weighing, deciding whether or not you're going to resign, or have you made up your mind on that front?
I'm not going to comment on that right now, Steve.
Okay.
So, are we done?
Yeah, I guess we're looking at an election sometime in July.
Can't say yes, can't say no, Steve, to that. I don't know. We'll see. All right, discussion vote. James Creether, temporary town administrator. Mr. Creether, would you like to come up, sit before us?
I absolutely would. Would you mind if I take the podium instead, so I can...
If you're more comfortable there, absolutely. So everybody can hear you. I just let everybody know, the select board, a while back when we were doing going for the town administrators, we had all the applications being sent directly to the select board as well as the town administrator. So the select board would get the filings of the resumes of all the candidates. And this has been going on long enough, and especially with Steve exiting shortly and everything like that, and going through the resumes, Mr. Creether's has stood out the most to me, and especially talking to those who he has submitted as contacts to get references on him. I am well aware of what people have brought up in regards to Jim's past. The thing is that I think you could probably say that any town administrator that's been holding this position for a number of years would probably have a past with them that they would carry forward. And it's not necessarily means that they're guilty or it's their fault in any matter on that. I think Mr. Creether, especially speaking upon those who he sent in as in his resumes to contact, some of them may not have agreed with him on everything, but they said he is the man that you want, especially when they researched Marshfield's issues going on right now. And they felt that Mr. Creether is the person that could help address the issues going forward with Marshfield. My look at is that right now in the current situation that we're in, and no word at the moment in regards to where we're going with the search committee, in regards to what they're picking out. I decided just make the move because it's going to be one of our last final meetings with Steve, and I figured, you know something, I'm going to put it out there. We'll see where we go from there. Steve wants to be on board with this, good. If not, then, something, I guess we'll just have to wait until after the elections to get this addressed and go from there. So, Mr. Creed, if you want to give an introduction to yourself and whatever else you want to add on to that.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman.
Eric, I can save us a lot of time and just say I'm not on board with this, and I think it's an inappropriate usurpation of the Citizen Search Committee process we put in place, so I can save us a lot of time and just say I'm not going to vote in favor of this.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. Duly noted. Mr. Creed, if you want to give background one way or the other, since you took the time to come down
I would
here.
like to just respond to some of the comments that were offered under public comment, if I could. I feel a bit like, an accidental invitee to a family dinner in the middle of a long-standing family battle. So it's a little uncomfortable sitting here tonight. To Mr. Gibson directly, I won't try to judge your age, but perhaps you'll recall.
75.
God bless you. Perhaps you'll recall Paul Harvey on the radio. The rest of the story,
I do.
I'd be honored, sir, Mr. Moderator, to get a chance to sit with you and talk about the rest of the story on some of the salacious headlines that you had to share. And I will acknowledge that every single thing you said is true. No, there's no reason to hide from that. In fact, what I was going to say in my statement, and I'll just cut to the quick because Mr. Darcy has made himself clear, and I appreciate that as well. A couple hours ago, I might have appreciated it more, but people have often said to me that I should steer away from the town of Winchendon experience where there was a deficit when I served as town manager, or even the town of Townsend when there was a fairly contentious recall that centered around a termination of a police chief. Because they say that, those things turn people off when they're on screening committees or select boards that are making votes. Perhaps to my own detriment, I've taken the opposite approach, and I lean into it. I steer into it because I think if you look beyond the Facebook and the social media, which, the algorithms are built to do exactly what they do and they do it well. If you look beyond some of the headlines at the background material and you speak to the people that were actually involved in the situations, you would see that in Winchendon, very specifically but very briefly, there was a situation where structurally under the charter in the town of Winchendon, everything that you said, Mr. Gibson, is true. I did not have access to the finances. I did not see monthly reports. I did not do revenue expense documents. Those were all handled by the town accountant quite deliberately and structurally and historically in the town of Winchendon. So if this became a question of, do I have any regrets? A regret is that I didn't push harder to address that while I was in Winchendon. I did approach 3 different boards when majorities changed to try to get that matter addressed. Ultimately, it became a significant issue when that town accountant and her ways of doing business, which were well known to DOR, a separate rest of the story for you, Mr. Gibson, if you'd care to hear. When she took ill and was out of the office for an extended period of time, and we had catastrophic hits in our health insurance trust fund that blew about $1.1 million hole in our budget. That was just the beginning. It followed with a roughly $2 million overexpenditure in the school department based on bad reports that they had been relying upon that also came out of that office. The facts are true that you stated. And I could have just, at that time in Winchendon, said, hands up, hands off, I've had nothing to do with this, and I've gone to you, Board of Selectmen, and said I need to have better access, and you've said no to me. But I didn't. What I did is I went to the first public meeting, and I took responsibility, and I took an absolute beating. And that beating resulted in some of the headlines that you read tonight, Mr. Gibson. That the beating that I took by taking responsibility for that entire situation are things that have harmed me professionally, harmed my family personally and financially. But I wouldn't do it any differently. The same holds true in Townsend. In Townsend, there was a situation where I worked for a board, and God bless them, they made a decision that they were going to fire a chief of police, a very big issue in a community, particularly a small town. and the community split in half over it. Fast forward, within a year's time, there was a full switch on the board. That new board painted me with the brush of that prior board's decision. They were pro-police chief. They painted me as not. I could have stayed. There was no cause whatsoever for me to have to leave, but I recognized that it wasn't in the interest of the community for me to stay and be a distraction when there was a new board that had been elected that wanted to go a different way. So I negotiated a way out. I wouldn't change that either. So it's easy to grab a Facebook post or to grab a headline, and it's salacious, and sometimes it's titillating to read, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and particularly people in this room, I know you know, because you are doing the work behind the scenes. You know that what is reported in the paper or what you see online doesn't necessarily always reflect what your experience was and what your understanding of the facts are or what the documents bear out. So having said that, I will take my leave. My hope was to come in and pitch in and help a little bit. If that's not to be the case, que sera, sera. And I wish you guys well as you take on the next couple of months of your challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Creeder.
I'm sorry? Thank you.
All right, that's it. So it's Tuesday, April 21st at 8:15. I will ask to adjourn this session. Do I have a second? Second.
You
Aye.
guys, did you do your meeting minutes already?
I don't even think it was in there.
It was, it's on the agenda. That's the only reason I brought it up. If they're not in there, then you can do it Monday.
16 was it. That was Mr. Creeder. That was it.
Okay.
Did you say second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.